I call to order the Waverly City Council for December 4th, 2017. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Seated. Tonight's prayer will be given by Brian Miller. He is the pastor at Grace Baptist Church, and we appreciate his presence tonight and giving us a sense of anchor and depth as we proceed with this evening's agenda. You can come to the mic.
Thank you. If you wish, would you please bow your head with me and we'll pray. Dear wise and loving Father, first let me just say thank you. We thank you on behalf of those who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. They're so very rich and full, and we say thank you. We also thank you for life itself, for the measure of health given so that we may fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship. For this we so deeply thank you. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work like tonight, and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank you for loving us so, no matter what. You are so forgiving and kind, and we thank you for your boundless and gracious nature. In the Scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice and good. So may this be true, as trust is grown from those in leadership and trust is extended from those who call Waverly home. Therefore, I pray for our mayor and his desire to serve this community. Thank you for that. For the various levels of city officials, and in particular, tonight, for this assembled council who put in so much time and they show such deep love for this community. So I am asking you, God, that today and in the future you would graciously grant them great and abundant wisdom to govern while conflicting interests may be present and difficult issues of our times may be discussed. A sense of love, I pray, deep care, welfare, and a rich and true understanding of the needs of our people in Waverly. I pray a keen thirst for justice and doing what is right. I pray confidence in what is good and fitting. I pray the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement and open ears to hear. I pray personal peace collectively and in individual lives and family lives, and a joy in their task as we think of tonight and in the future. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved community, Waverly. It is in your most blessed name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brian. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as distributed by our city clerk, Carla Geyer?
Move approval.
Second, please.
Second.
Motion.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda. I would like to move that we remove item number 6 from tonight's agenda.
That's the mayoral appointments, is it?
That's correct, sir.
A motion has been made. It would take a second and a vote.
Second.
The motion seconded. Council discussion?
It just seemed fair to me and common sense wise that since the election is tomorrow, these boards and commissions don't need these positions filled tonight immediately, that they could wait until our meeting on the 18th, the next meeting. And so if you win tomorrow, these just slide right on the next meeting, get approved, no problem. With tomorrow's vote coming up, I just think it makes sense and would be the correct thing to do to hold off a meeting before doing these.
I agree with that. I think that, you've made statements in the past that these commissions operate in the pleasure of the mayor, and if you would be not reelected, I think that, you know, we should give the opportunity to the new mayor to select councils and people on those councils appropriately to his preference.
Thank you. Other comments?
I know two of the appointments, the two to the Leisure Service Commissions, are simply a reappointment, and it's been argued here in the past that those that wishing to reserve, there shouldn't be any problem unless we have a specific reason why they shouldn't, what they've done that might invalidate their service. So I certainly don't have a problem with the two reappointments. I would agree that perhaps the two new appointments can wait. Since they have not been filled, they've been vacant positions, that we can wait on filling those two. But the two that are the reappointments, I think, should go through.
So are you speaking against the amendment?
I would be opposed to removing them completely.
Okay.
I think when we get to the mayoral appointments to that item, we can set aside the two appointments for the library board and for the cable commission.
Okay.
But I don't see the issue with setting them all aside. To Wes's point, they're not going to take service until after the first year anyway, so why not just wait for them all?
They're simply reappointments. There's no reason to wait on them.
I'm not saying that we have any problem with any of the appointments on the board, but I think it's up to the mayor who he selects for these commissions.
I think on precedence on this, I remember Mayor Brunkhorst in December making appointments, and I heard that. But we have a motion before us
Yeah, I guess
and
I
a
would-
second.
I guess I would agree with Wes's motion. I mean, I think we broke precedents quite often now. So I agree that kind of with everybody's discussion is probably the best. We had a veto here that was discussed to push topics into the next council. So I think this follows that same precedence.
Okay, so
I
by
would
that
just-
precedent, we should cancel the entire meeting to push it until next council has it been seated.
I mean, this is just my view, but I think, we have certain processes in place. The mayor has very few, whoever the mayor is, I'm not talking necessarily about just this mayor, but the mayor in general has very little power and very few prerogatives, and appointments is one of them. The new mayor, whoever that is, will have many more opportunities to appoint people to commissions as well. So I guess I'm in favor with keeping with, the normal processes rather than, and this would fall under that. So,
I
and
guess I would go exactly what you said, is that our mayor has very little power, and the only power they do have is appointments. And so with the election being tomorrow, with that being the one big power our mayor has, we should hold off one day just to see what happens. Because
I think we've all spoken.
holding these,
Was there a reason that this was
Go
brought
ahead.
forward tonight, or was there a
No, I've been-
pending? I guess I don't want to put a wrinkle into, the good service that these folks are doing, and maybe there's a reason that they were split up between this week and next week. Was there a reason for that, or?
Just communication, but I've been working on these for a long time. And
How
they
do you
belong
mean-
under.
How do you mean communication? I mean,
What do you mean?
I guess, was there a compelling reason that we needed to do this? Then we should honor that, I guess.
are you saying you didn't hear back from the people you were working with or had contacted until
I've
recently?
contacted, there's others who are considering, and they're talking with family and stuff like this. And you work with boards, this isn't just at random. The library board is some that came to me, and we've been working on this opening, and for a long time, it belongs under my reign. And to me, and we could have actually done it a little earlier, but I was gone, and before that, we just didn't put it on, because I knew that this is the precedence as long as I'm mayor. And these are the issues I've been wrestling with for years, building these commissions up to be wonderful and gelling and going fine. So
And
I
is
didn't
there-
think it was an issue.
Is there a
And,
compelling reason
So
that
I
it
didn't
has to
see
be
any
done tonight?
reason to rush it, but the library board position is been ready for a long time. worked with this commission, ready to go, and I think that it is my prerogative, but I think we've all had a say. You have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded.
I would say one last thing. I mean, I agree with Tim that we have talked about as a council that reappointments should, if they want to serve, be served, but that has not been the precedent of the current mayor. He has removed 2 people that have wanted to serve and removed them. So it's, even though we as a council
No, I
have
didn't
talked
remove.
that,
I
the mayor
allowed-
himself has not chose to do that as a precedent.
I
so-
didn't remove. We had people, you have expired terms.
Right, and they
You
want.
don't automatically
No,
have
no,
to
no, I'm
put
just
everybody
talking
on.
about what Tim said. Tim understands what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, I'm glad he does. Okay, so all in favor of the amendment signify with yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with no.
No.
So it will stand. Is there now, did we motion actually? All in favor of the agenda as seconded signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. It becomes our agenda.
No.
Pardon me?
No.
It's 4-3.
Oh. I thought it sounded unanimous when I first
Meetings
heard
work.
it. Is there a motion to approve the November 6th regular meeting minutes and the November 16th pre-budget meeting minutes? Also as distributed by our city clerk.
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Council discussion? All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no. Officially approved. This time I'd welcome any comments by the public on any items not on tonight's agenda.
Excuse me. I'm going to try to get through this without coughing a little bit. Justin Scott, I am a concerned American, but I'm a hopeful American. I come to you tonight in peace. I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank all council members, everyone in this chamber tonight for your service to the city of Waverly, to your service of the Constitution. Unless you've been living under a rock lately, you know why I'm here. You know what issue is close to my heart. It is the issue of prayer at city council meetings. I'm here, excuse me, tonight to offer some positivity. I know that the air is thick. I feel some tension, so I want to try to uplift you with some words that I've thought of. I want to thank the gentleman that provided the prayer to start with. I do want to mention that that was now the 6th consecutive Christian prayer that this chamber has experienced this year. So that means no other Muslim prayer, no other atheist prayer invocation, no Hindu, no Buddhist, but thank you. With that said, the gentleman had mentioned the words trust and justice. And I want to speak from my point of view quick. When I came here in April, I was hoping that we could trust the process, that when Mayor Infelt created a process that it would provide justice for all citizens. And I think you've heard me talk long enough. I'm excited to see what the next new council, and I mean not just the new faces, but the way that the new council interacts with one another, the way they look at this whole process and the way they look at my concerns about this and many others' concerns. We've heard a lot about energy in this city. What's exciting is when I walk in here tonight, I see a bunch of college students here, and I'm curious to see what their thoughts are. As their generation becomes less and less religious, do they want to come to a city council meeting that starts off with close to a 5-minute prayer to some God that they may not believe in? So I'll leave that for the next, the next council and possibly the next mayor, whatever happens there. This is not a political speech. Lastly, I want to talk about opportunity. There's an opportunity for justice. There's an opportunity for absolute inclusion, and that happens when we end this process. And I am officially tonight calling that this process of prayer, this divisive process that leaves people like me out in the cold, I was told months ago that if I didn't like it, I could sit down and be quiet. And I'll tell you, that has motivated me to come see all of your faces every single month for like the last 8 months. So, with that said, to the new council members and possibly the new mayor, what I want you to always consider is legacy. What legacy are you leaving for this chamber, for the city government, for the city of Waverly, and also for the state of Iowa. What legacy are you leaving when it comes to, did you uphold the Constitution? Did you challenge the status quo, or did you go along with it? So with that, I am excited for what the future holds. I hope everyone is excited too. Good luck to everybody tomorrow, and thank you for allowing me to come take part in this.
Thank you, Justin. Other comments?
My name is Kathy Olson. We live at 1010 Kenyon Drive here in Waverly, and I just have 3 points I'd like to make. I'm sad and distressed about the tone of what is happening in the city of Waverly government. I'm disappointed in what appears to be a purposeful intent to drive divisiveness, to doubt the intent of others with whom I may or may not agree. Competition and disagreement is not bad. Divisiveness and distrust is bad, and it is not Waverly. Second, I'm sad and distressed that there appears to be an intent to provide information that may not be factual, or an intent to not pursue what may be facts. There's a lot of innuendo going on, and that creates suspicion and anger. But why is our intent not to pursue a common understanding of facts and information? And I emphasize this last point. And to solve problems collectively. This is not Waverly. I'm sad and I'm disappointed, thirdly, by the message that this divisiveness sends to the rest of the state and to the decision makers regarding state assistance to the city. This is not what Waverly needs. Let's get together for the best of the city, for our community. I don't speak alone. I sincerely hope that we all want the best for the city. Thank you.
Kathy? Other words from the public?
Tim Bradford, Waverly, Iowa. I guess after watching a couple of the council meetings on YouTube prompted me to come out tonight. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you to the 3 outgoing council people. Thank you for your efforts, your time, and your passion for what you've done. A couple other comments. Again, this comes back to the YouTube recordings of the video or of the council meetings. There was a council meeting at one time where someone had questioned Mr. Resnicek and about the research and comments about the utility issue, and it was a quote unquote, "This is obviously a passion for you." And when I heard that, that struck me. Everybody on here should be passionate about everything that comes in front of you every council meeting. And if it's not, that's concerning. Also, in those videos, there was a couple comments about tone. In watching those videos, not once did I hear anybody belligerent, loud. And if it is, I guess if tone, if it's about not being challenged or the idea of questioning the opposite opinion, that to me is concerning also, because that's like the previous lady had said, there's going to be varying opinions all the time. So it's the idea of being able to come to a consensus. But you're always going to have opposite sides. And if you don't have opposite sides along the way, I guess in my life and my career, I've seen many issues successfully debated. And most of the time, if the successful leaders or a successful outcome with a CEO or president of a company or a mayor, it's the ones where there's going to be diverse opinions. The key is how you bring those together. So with all of that, I guess I encourage everybody to get out and vote tomorrow. That's your voice, and I think Dan had said that at one of those meetings, the last, previous to the last election, get out and vote, that's your voice. So, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Other comments? We have 4 items on tonight's consent calendar. They are a Stanley Consultants bill to be paid for the Parkway East work. We have a AHTS Architect bill to pay for the South Riverside Park work. We have a wine permit for Teat Nursery, and we have a liquor license for Dirty Dog to approve. Is there a motion?
I move approval of consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no. Unanimously approved. Regular business item number 2. One.
Number 1.
Means I clipped the paper. Which happens sometimes. Regular business item number 1 is an engineering agreement for reconstruction of the railroad crossings at 20th Street Northwest and 5th Avenue Northwest. We've done a lot on this. Let's go directly to a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 17-137, approving the agreement for engineering services with McClure Engineering Company of Clive, Iowa, to develop the plans, specifications, and bid package for the 20th Street Northwest reconstruction, railroad crossing improvements at 20th Street Northwest and 5th Avenue Northwest 2018 project for a not-to-exceed fee of $66,700.
Second, please.
Second.
Motion second and council discussion. Public input on this before we vote? Roll call vote.
Gade. Kangas.
Yes.
Lampy.
Yes.
McKenzie.
Yes.
Resnick.
Yes.
Scher.
Yes.
Waldstein.
Yes.
Resolution 17-137 is unanimously approved. Regular business item number 2 is resolved to approve the airport's 5-year capital improvement plan for the Federal Aviation Administration, which we do annually. Motion, please.
Move approval of Resolution 17-138, approving the Waverly Municipal Airport's Federal Aviation Administration 5-year capital improvement plan for future fiscal years 2019 to 2023.
Second, please.
Second.
Council discussion.
Excuse me, my only question on this was if, I'm not sure we've had discussion on, I noticed in part of the plan was an additional runway, so an additional runway in addition to the current runway that we've got today. I don't believe that we've discussed that or approved that as a council, that would be a priority. And second, adding hangars. I guess I'm not sure, at least in my tenure, we've not discussed adding hangars. And this references a strategic planning from 2013, which is more than 4 years ago. So that would be, I guess that's my concern is I'd rather see, as a council, some discussion, some business cases for why we'd add additional runway, the benefit of adding additional hangars and so forth before we would approve this.
I would say that I know that every time we've talked about the airport and the safety zone that I have talked about hangars as being one of the reasons to do that, because we're not allowed to build any additional hangars until we do that. So say that we've never talked about it is flat out not true. I have mentioned that every time, and it's one way that we would get the airport basically being self-sufficient because of the hangars, but we're not able to build anything additional right now because of not having that increased safety zone.
We can build hangars outside of the safety zone.
Not with federal funding.
Anyways, I think what Dave was trying to say was that we have not, as a group, come to any sort of consensus or have had any sort of plans or meetings where we do priorities since 2014. So it may have been talked about by one person, but as a group, we have not agreed to a new runway. We have not agreed to hangars. At the last meeting, I know there was an item to have some planning done for that runway that I did not know was going to happen, so I voted no on that. But we have not had any sessions on this. We haven't had any discussions to set priorities on the airport. And so I think it's odd that we would vote for something that we have not discussed before as a group and come to a conclusion on.
This has been approved by the Airport Commission, which is one of the charges of the commission to make recommendations to the council. So
And that's why it's important that we should have had certain mayors appoint people to commissions, correct? If we're going to pay that close attention to them.
Commissions have been, the Airport Commission has been full.
Yeah, I think the commission has done a great job. I just, as we look, there's land acquisition and things, and we have not, as a council, discussed that. And, we saw in our last community survey, one of the top items that came forward, in addition to cost of living and taxes and so forth, was the airport and the spending on that. And also, we saw that the newspaper ran, and it ran from May 23rd until just recently it was taken down, asking a simple question: do you consider the airport to be a source of economic development? And it was, and I've been watching that over time. It was 3-1, no. So I guess I'm just looking at what the citizens are telling us. As a council, we've not, as a group, had this discussion, but citizens in different ways.
So on the airport, you'll take an internet poll as valid, but on the Green Bridge, you'll take an internet poll and say it's invalid.
I'm not saying it was valid. I'm just saying that these are the inputs.
Well, you're quoting it as so it's valid. So
I guess
clarifying the twists and turns in logic to make things fit.
This must have been the tone that citizens were talking about. I guess I'm not concerned. I guess I'm confused about what the bridge thing would be. But I'm just, I guess, and that's my position, and we can.
Could we go into talking about why there hasn't been a strategic planning session for several years?
I'd rather not go that route if we could. You're discussing a couple different things here. The 5-year plan you're approving does not include the additional runway. That is in the long-range needs assessment from years 6 to 20. So that is other things that if you continue to expand the airport or things you'd like to do going forward, it's at least 6 years out, is what they're saying in this document. While the hangars are in there, they're in the latter part of the 5-year plan. So again, what you're looking at is the 5-year plan through 2023. That's what's being looked at to be approved tonight. We have to do it every year annually, the FAA. The other items, the additional runway, et cetera, years 6 to 20. So it's really not part of what you're even voting on tonight. So I just want to clarify so we don't get too far off task.
Yeah, that was helpful. Any last comments before we vote?
Yes.
Wes, do you want to weigh in before we vote?
I would thank James for the clarification. However, we are voting on this, and my name will go on this. And if we have not discussed it and agreed to it as a council, it is not a council goal. And so thus, I can't support this document, is what I'm saying.
I think it's just.
Fine. I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, I understand.
And I agree with that. I think that, as soon as, it's just like the comprehensive land use plan, I think that's just used as a guide or as a tool down the road for other council or other discussion to say, well, it's on the 5-year plan, so therefore, we must, it's just automatic approval. So I guess I'd like to see more discussion on this as well.
But what we're acting on is the 5-year plan, and nothing beyond that is my understanding.
But within the documents here, to Wes's point, is discussion of a second runway and land acquisition. So
right, but that's not what we're acting on. I think I understood that to just be the entirety of their report, but we're acting on just the 5. What will happen between now and 2023?
This whole report will be sent to the FAA, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, so if you go to the FAA website, the actual second runway is in their plan. So somehow that has gotten there. So I think we need to, as a council, address that. So somehow it's there. It's in a living document within the FAA.
So someone must have approved it before already.
Unless we're none of us within the last, I don't know when it would have happened, so.
I'm saying this whole document is going to be on file with the FDA. So that includes a new runway, it includes new hangars, it includes things we have not discussed. or prioritized as anything that is in importance at this time, so.
When is this due to the FAA?
Any last comments?
I had a question.
Sure. Mike, if you would.
December 22nd.
No, it's when we always have done in December. So.
This does not commit the city to doing any of these projects. This is an aid for the FAA to know what type of projects or funding levels are being looked at in the next 5 years. Every single one of these projects has to come back before the council for consideration again.
Right, and what Dan Lampy said is correct, is that when we blindly approve these, just like we blindly approve the land use plan or blindly approve even the budget per se, it always comes back to us later that when it comes back to council, it's always, this was approved in the 5-year plan for the airport, thus we're going forward with this, and I'd like you to vote for it.
I guess I would put it
used
a little
as a
bit differently,
way
Wes. I mean, I don't think it's a blind approval. It's a matter of
Yeah, I might have said that wrong, but they do use these
respecting
documents to come back
the
to
work
us.
of the commissions, and you know how much you want to go back and forth with them. Who's our liaison?
I'm the liaison.
Okay, so Tim, do you have can you say anything about?
These are just long-term ideas. They've talked with the aprons and they've talked with the taxiways as potentials that would enhance safety at the airport. Certainly, the hangars have been on the concept of being able to improve those and offer. We're pretty much maxed out on our hangars right now, so. Being able to have some more available. There are people that are looking to house their airplanes here. So this is, it's a planning document for the FAA to kind of have a general sense. And we've often, the 8 years I've been on, we've moved things around as it's come up the following year, and priorities have shifted and changed and moved around based on where things are in the council. So this is just simply letting them know future out what we're doing. I think next year our major capital stuff is the planning and beginning the extension.
Right. We're presently designing the runway extension that is anticipated to be a 2019 construction project.
And what is the commission saying about the additional runway?
That's a long-term goal. There's a lot of parts that would have to be put in place before we would be able to do a long-term north-south runway, which is what they're essentially north-south to have the further length. But there's a lot of land discussions. There's discussions with Mid-America and their power poles and where they're putting things. There's discussion with the county and the roads that are in there, and so there's no given by any means on that.
The north-south runway was on the last meeting that we just had, though. And I voted no on that. It was a planning document or something, right, to do something? And I asked if
At our last meeting?
there was something, at the airport on our last meeting.
You know, the
I
statement
asked
would,
Bill if we needed to have acquisitions for this, and you said, no, we don't need acquisitions for this to go
The
forward.
application for federal funding for the runway extension.
But not the additional runway, that was for the extension.
Correct. It's for the current runway.
But we don't have all the acquisitions currently, right?
We have one piece left on the safety zone.
so the statement was made that, you know, the hangars would make the airports self-sufficient. Well, has the financial return information been distributed to us so we can make a decision on that? Is there been any justification on the ROI of, building new hangars? How many new hangars do we have to build? What's the expected revenue? What's the expected cost? How's the payback? All those questions that we need to go through when we approve something like this. When you're talking about, you make a statement that it's going to be self-sufficient after we build hangars, I'd like to see the documentation and the cost analysis of that before we just go ahead and say, yep, hangars are going to do it.
And would that be something that would be presented when it comes before us, before those hangars can even when it comes to us for approval for the hangars. I mean, I think that's a reasonable request to have that kind of information.
In the past, we haven't gotten business cases and ROIs.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a practice, but it'd be nice if it started to be the practice. I agree with that.
Yeah, just, and that's kind of where I was at, is we haven't had those discussions. As I look at the cost of the hangars and what we rent, I don't know how that makes them self-sufficient. If you divide, 384,000 plus 258, I'm into like, it'd pay itself off in 400 years. So I think there needs to be some significant discussion if that's actually going to make it self-sufficient and so forth. So, and I guess I wasn't exaggerating as I look at the numbers, because we haven't had these discussions. I'm just trying to do some quick math with the total number, or the total price of the hangars and what we currently rent them for today. So, before I would approve this, we need to have some discussion and approval from all of council and so forth. And just referring back to the citizen input that we've gotten in a couple different places, I think there needs to be more discussion.
More?
I would just be concerned about missing the deadline and then not being eligible for, especially since we're not approving necessarily anything to be constructed at this point, but it seems kind of, penny-wise and pound foolish isn't exactly the right term, but it would be short-sighted, I think, to vote this down and then, have some plans that we do want to pursue later and be ineligible for FAA funding because we missed the deadline for submitting a 5-year strategic plan.
We do have a meeting on the 18th, and that's Monday, and this isn't due till Friday the 22nd, he said, so.
Yeah, I think it's
Depends
very
how much you
pound
want to
foolish
discuss
or
it.
whatever that statement would be, that we would approve something. Because as I've learned with my tenure on council, we have these discussions and it says, well, it's just kind of discussion. Then the next time we come back to it and actually get to the detail of what we're actually purchasing, I can name a lot of different examples. They said, well, we already approved that, so this is just kind of a check in the box. Then we're kind of stuck. So I think we need to do this the correct way and actually have these long-range plans approved with the proper detail and discussion to go along with it.
I guess for this, I would just say, for this part of it, so far, I trust the work of the commission and would be prepared to vote for it, but I would want to see more information as we move along.
Thank you. Last words. Roll call vote, please.
Angus.
Yes.
Lampy.
No.
McKenzie.
Yes.
Reznachek.
No.
Chair.
Yes.
Waldstein.
Yes.
Gade.
Nope.
Resolution 17-138 passes 4-3. Regular business item number 3 is a rent agreement with for the farmland we own adjacent to the airport. City Administrator, for the public, what are the rental issues here? I think it's pretty flat, but what are the rental issues here?
I don't think we have any issues per se. We've kept the rent per acre to $225,
Okay.
same as it was last year, I believe. So we've not had any increase, and we're renting to the same individuals that we did last year.
So we just continue.
Yes, sir.
Motion, please.
I move Resolution 17-139, approving a lease agreements between the City of Waverly and William Lowe, James and Sandra Jansen, and KW Farms for the safety zone acquisition parcels of land adjacent to the properties for the amount of $225 per acre.
Second, please.
Second.
Motion second. Council discussion. Public input. Roll call vote, please.
Lampy.
Yes.
McKenzie.
Yes.
Reznachek.
No.
Chair.
Yes.
Waldstein.
Yes.
Gade.
No.
Angus.
Yes.
Lampy. Sorry. I had you.
Yes, again.
It passes Resolution 17-139, 5-2.
You sure that isn't 6-2? Dan gets 2 votes,
Sorry.
Regular business item number 4 is the final reading to officially adopt our city code. Motion, please.
It would move the third and final reading of ordinance 1028, an ordinance adopting the city code of City of Waverly, Iowa.
I'll second that.
It's been motion seconded. Council discussion.
I guess, just to clarify, this would be everything that's kind of been discussed throughout since the last time we approved, and since there's not any detail with it, it's nothing new, it's just the things that we've talked through, okay.
Yep, all the ordinances that have been passed are now being combined and actually certified into the code itself. Yep.
Okay.
Other council discussion? Public input? Roll call vote.
Try it differently. Gade.
Yes.
Mackenzie.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Bezincheck. Yes. Lampy.
Yes.
Waldstein.
Yes.
The third and final reading of ordinance 1028 is unanimously approved. Regular business item number 5 is to cancel our December study session. A motion, please.
I'll make a motion to cancel December 25th, 2017 study session meeting due to a holiday. And I'll also add that we didn't really have to do this because it's already in our city code that if a meeting falls on a holiday, we do not have it. So it's kind of an extra step we didn't take.
But for the public too. Did we have a second on this?
Not yet.
Second, please. Council discussion beyond that? All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no. Approved. Mayoral appointments. First, I would like to ask on the Leisure Services that Sharon Cashman and Derek Solheim be reappointed to their positions. Is there a motion?
I've moved the approval of appointment of Sharon Cashman and Derek Solheim, reappointment of Sharon Cashman and Derek Solheim to the Leisure Services Commission.
Second.
It's been motion seconded. Discussion?
Again, I will just say that I have absolutely nothing against any of these people up for appointment. I'm sure, and I know some of them, but I'm sure the rest of them are all fine people. I just believe in true honesty and the best way to handle these situations, with the election being tomorrow and these commissions not needing to fill these seats tonight. They could wait till the 18th and we wouldn't have any problems at all. So, but
all in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no.
no.
Was there 2 there? 5-2. With Ross on the library board and John Hines on the cable commission. This is, maybe I will, we're going to end up with a 4-3 vote against it rather than have their names go up.
What's that?
Well, I could withdraw and not.
Oh, whatever you want to do.
Why don't we just table that part?
What?
Why don't we just table that until the 18th?
Why would we have a 4-3? Why would we have a 4-3 vote? Making that assumption.
Okay, okay.
No, I'm just
trying not to use their names. Ross Helgevold, I'd like to appoint to the Library Board of Trustees, and John Hines to the Cable Commission. Both have had a lot of process to this point, and you've heard me say that already, that these would be wonderful additions, and I think it's part of my prerogative. Is there a motion?
I'll move the approval of Ross Helgevold, the Library Board of Trustees, and John Hines to the Cable Commission.
Second, please.
Second.
And again, I'll just say, I don't have any problem with these people at all. But if you are now worried and would like to table it, that was a discussion that we had before this whole meeting started. Was the right thing to do. So
well, I'm just saying
if you are now saying you want to do that, we should have done that
with the prior
before
conversation, we already knew that there's going to be, the outcome's going to be what it's going to be, and I was just trying not to use it.
Question to Bill. If these were voted down, is there any delay in then them being able to be named at a later date? Or, because I know like with resolutions or zoning changes, we've talked about there may be a 12-month delay or something before that can be heard again.
I don't believe
Commissions aren't the same thing.
I don't believe there's anything in that would prevent that from happening, being reappointed.
I remember something about that, because I remember.
I didn't look at it, but I think Carla said she looked at it, and
I've looked in both the city code and the state code, and there's nothing.
right.
As far as commissions.
Right.
I don't feel comfortable. These are good folks that really want to commit themselves to chipping into the city things, and this is how a lot of us got started. I got on the Economic Development Commission. I was excited to get committed to it, and I didn't want to have this kind of discussion when I got on and stuff. So I guess I don't. It's too many of these things are kind of turned into things that shouldn't be. I guess I would respectfully ask that maybe kind of your first comment to delay that if that's the smoothest way this could happen. That's how I feel comfortable.
I'd like to say the same thing that Wes did. I've got absolutely no problem with any of these people, and I'm sure they're very capable to serve on these commissions. Like I said, it's just the timing is problematic for me.
My position is similar. Where this distinction is that the reappointments, I didn't have a problem with those continuing to be reappointed. It's the new members that perhaps should be thought about in terms of what's the process. If they haven't been filled to this point, we get into the whole, John Adams midnight appointment potentiality, historic scenario, and
I take this at face value. I'm not going to read into anybody's, why is it now? Why wasn't it earlier? What could it be later? This is a legitimate agenda item with names attached to it. And, since everybody thinks these are great people, I'm going to vote to. If we have the opportunity to vote, I would vote for them, and I just don't see. Mayor needs to do whatever the mayor would like to do.
One of the reasons that I wanted to make the motion is that I am liaison to the library board. Can't speak for the process at the Cable Commission, but I do know that the library board has been wanting to move forward with their budget. They have been trying to be responsible to wait until they had a full board. They're missing a member. Ross Helgevold would fill that. If you put this off, library board meets next week, you're going to put that off until January. It seems irresponsible to me to do that, and that's why I support approving it now.
And also, I must say that Sarah got a hold of me to rush this one, and that's why it's also here. But we've had a long process on this, and it's a wonderful appointee. And the precedents with the other mayors who've all done December nominations and had them approved. And somewhere I was watching it happen.
Can we hear from Sarah on this?
Sarah, would you please come forward?
We've this opening on the board came from a vacancy when Jordan Shanks left for other commitments, and so it has been vacant for a few months. I can't remember what month he left, but the board has had it on their agenda to talk about options. And I had a board member here earlier that had to leave, but they do feel very strongly that they want it filled right away. And the interest of this candidate came to us recently, and so we acted on it and feel like, we need to move forward. I'm not aware that there are lots of folks waiting in the wings to do this. So I'm excited to have someone who's very interested, and we'd like to move forward.
And you did communicate with me about the budget and the need to fill that, and that's one of the reasons it's here also. So I appreciated the good communications back and forth, and we have a wonderful candidate, and I think we're on safe grounds here.
I think regardless of who comes, how the elections turn out tomorrow, the mayor has full latitude to do what they want with commissions. We've seen mayors add positions. We've seen mayors take positions away from commissions. I guess to me, this is a lot of noise, and we just need to move forward. It's been motioned and seconded, and let's put it to a vote and see where it goes.
Okay, any last words before we do voice vote? All in favor of Ross and John being appointed, signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no?
No.
Passes. Thank you. Reports on boards and commissions. Library Board of Trustees minutes has been submitted to us from the October 10th meeting. Any comments? Officially received. Economic Development Commission minutes from October 10th as well. Comments? Officially received. Historic Preservation Commission minutes from October 23rd. Comments? Officially received. The Bremer Waverly Law Board minutes from November 13th. Officially received. The Golf Commission minutes from November 14th.
Can I speak to the Golf Commission?
Yes, you can.
I did speak to this after the meeting happened, and now the minutes are here. So at the Waverly Country Club and the Waverly Golf Course, there are some changes going on, and we have an exciting time where we can lock in a truly fantastic employee who is a born and bred Waverly person who dearly, dearly wants to work at our golf course for the rest of his life. Hopefully, we can come up with a package and have enough money and benefits and things behind it so that that person can do that and stop the revolving door of having a new pro every 3 to 5 years at the Waverly Golf course. So the commission did vote in favor of moving forward with that. One thing I would say too is someone did abstain from a vote. I know Tab isn't here, but legally you cannot abstain from a vote unless you have something personally to gain. You can't just say I'm not going to
Personal
vote.
conflict
Yeah,
of some
so
sort first, yes.
a person did abstain, which really isn't legal because they didn't have any personal to gain or lose out of that vote. So going forward, just some education for our boards and commissions that you can't just abstain from votes.
I actually believe that the law says that the person who states the reasons for their abstention, you have to accept that, and you cannot look behind that. Actually, that's what it says.
I'm not sure he stated a reason, but anyway, my bigger point is the city needs to make sure our pro stays here, definitely, because that's what everyone at the Waverly Golf Course wants. And we do not want to keep rotating new people in every 3 to 5 years. And this person is fantastic. He has continued to grow the course, grow membership. People love him. Let's keep him here.
Do we have any other employment agreements, public-private?
Trying to think offhand. I'm drawing a blank. I don't know what we do necessarily.
I mean, it depends on if you want to talk about contract mowing and things like that.
True.
Right.
But this
It's a
type,
part-time
no.
employee is what it's considered when they did it this way.
It would be really nice if our golf pro, who oversees the largest park in the entire city and has a huge budget, probably should be a Waverly City employee, is what my opinion would be. But I know your city and the country club are trying to work out a deal here to make the best situation happen, but there are lots of other golf courses. Just as we know, when Greg Mason left, he left and got a large salary with benefits, and we lost a good person then, and I don't want it to happen to this person because they're a great Waverly, I shouldn't call him a kid, but state championship basketball player.
I don't know
everything.
if checking out what I know Cedar Falls, their golf pro at their shop is the head golf coach at UNI, so I don't know what their agreement is. So partnerships.
And our golf pro is a high school basketball coach at Waverly Shell Rock, so he does other things as well. But.
Okay. Other comments? Then we officially received the Golf Commission minutes. Staff comments?
I don't believe we have any tonight, sir.
Oh, okay. Council comments. Reverse, maybe start with Wes. Any comments, Wes?
I don't have anything. I hope I feel better by the 18th for my last meeting. I don't like being sick and having to rush here from the urgent care or whatever it's called to get here.
Yeah, thank you for making it. Dan?
As it was pointed out earlier tonight, there is a special election tomorrow, and polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at your normal voting locations. They did not consolidate it into one spot. So, again, I would, regardless of how you're going to vote, I would encourage you to get out and vote your conscience as far as the leadership and direction you'd like to see the city move, in which it's done.
Mike?
Well, this has nothing to do with city government, but just want to give a shout out to the Wartburg football team. They got to the third round of their playoffs. I think that's actually good news for the city. We got some visibility beyond the city of Waverly, and next year they're going to do better than they did this year.
Yep. They deserve credit.
Come back.
Okay, come back. Well, then we got Edie.
I have no comments.
Dan?
Just encourage everybody to get out and vote tomorrow and vote for who you think is right for the job.
And Mr. David. Okay, last but not least.
There's been talk of tone and whatnot, and I've had people that have asked me to make statements and things that have been out in the paper, online, et cetera. So I feel the need to make some comments on the state of the city prior to tomorrow's elections. Unfortunately, right now, I see Waverly as a divided city as a result of the actions of our outgoing council members, many who chose not to run for re-election rather than face the probability of being voted out of office. I'm proud to say that I was willing to put myself out for re-election and received overwhelming support from my constituents, though there are those that say I shouldn't consider a 60% vote win. Seeing some of the math that has come from them over the years, I shouldn't be surprised with that conclusion. The past 4 years have been rough. We have seen these unre-electable council members try every tactic in the book to call into question virtually every aspect of our city government. And we can see now they can't handle the truth either. So they have questioned the police force, replacing fire equipment, scrutinized every vehicle purchase, even vehicles 10 to 15 years old. They've questioned the ethics of 2 different city administrators, our city engineer, our city economic director, and attorney. They've argued against providing a safe and quality workplace for our public works employees. They've urged businesses to take their business to other towns. They've attacked our local newspaper and tried bullying for slanted coverage, and then retaliated by removing a table from council chamber. Voted to commit the city to purchasing more than $500,000 worth of land and then voted against paying for it. Questioned our public library, attacked private business owners and people who want to invest in our town, and most recently called into question the ethics of our city-owned utility, its board of directors, and members of council without presenting any proof of their accusations. And I'm surely leaving other things out, but that is their legacy and doesn't have to be Waverly's. I've been called a lot of things recently on social media, and I'm sure there'll be more after this. I'm sure the small circle that wants to divide and damage Waverly will go after me again. I understand that as a public official, I am fair game for commentary, but I'm not going to go and run and hide behind a lawyer to protect my feelings. It comes with the territory, as we are going to make decisions that will not always make everyone happy. But I do need to address some items that need correcting. I've been accused of lying and calling another council member a drug user, yet when pressed to produce the email in which he claimed I called him that, he was unable to do so. That is because I never did call him that. He will never acknowledge that lie, but there it is for everyone to see. It was also on social media that I lied about whether another council member shared utility information with the rest of the council or not. That should also be able to easily be proven by showing the email where the information is shared. But it can't be because... It's my privilege, I will talk, thank you. But it can't be because it doesn't exist. There is no email with that shared information. He never has shared with it. In fact, what does exist is an email from this council member to another council member unequivocally stating that he will not share the information because said council member is too stupid to understand the information. Talk about being transparent. Which brings up the whole manufactured controversy of our November 6th meeting and whether or not a legitimate council request for an agenda item was denied but also allowing a false claim of being wrongly denied on the night before the election. Turns out the request was not even sent until the Friday morning before the meeting. Too late for it to be publicized anywhere other than the city website and at City Hall posting. This also didn't even follow the said councilman's own proposal for submitting agenda items, which would have been a week in advance. But they won't let hypocrisy get in the way of political points. In addition, those that cry loudest about transparency are also the ones conducting business using their private employer's email account as opposed to their city account. There's talk of stealing from the city, again, with no evidence. However, what would most people call someone who agreed to do a job but then showed up less than half the time, yet still cashed the paychecks? I'll let people come to their own conclusion on that. As I said, Waverly is a city divided. Whoever wins the mayoral election tomorrow will be tasked with trying to bring the city together again. I have watched as Mayor Infelt has tried to bridge differences and move forward, often to a fault, in hoping for cooperation and professionalism. Too often he has been met with straight-up rigid opposition to anything. I have heard Mr. Soash talk about making Waverly one again, and I believe and trust that that is what is in his heart, and how he will govern if he wins. To do so, though, may mean distancing himself from those that have been so divisive and look to him as a surrogate to continue their path since they themselves were unable to be reelected. I look forward to beginning the new year with a new council, one that will be respectful, professional, positive, and productive, one that the city of Waverly deserves.
No mayoral comments other than we want to vote and acknowledge.
You can show the email where I said what I didn't say?
But let me also acknowledge my opponent, Mr. Soash is here, and thank you, Dean, for running the campaign. It's good to have competition, and we will trust, and we've already made agreement. If you win, Dean, I'll be supporting you and vice versa, so let the town know that. And amongst these low roads that we've had to live with, there is a high road too, and may nobility always win. May we always speak the truth in love. May Waverly stay united. We must be one town. It's what's given us our town energy. I will do everything possible to do that, whether I'm supporting Dean doing that or whether I'm elected. But together we must stand. We are the talk of Iowa because of our unity, because of our sense of character, our being able to lift each other up and seeing each other in the best light possible. We must continue to do that. Accusations when you get into illegality with that goes on with a college or something that it has no place, and so I do thank everyone for this night together and a wonderful 4 years. We look forward to the election tomorrow, but the unity must remain. We must be for each other, and we must be of highest character. Our small town value of always being cooperative, supportive of one another, commissions right on down the line, must be always held as the highest priority. Motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.